Good morning, and welcome to World in 15, your trusted source for comprehensive coverage of today's most pressing events, delivered with accuracy, integrity, and insight.
The amount of humanitarian aid entering Gaza has decreased by 67% since Israel launched a military offensive in Rafah earlier this month, according to the United Nations. We have Shelby reporting on this.
The amount of food and other aid entering Gaza, already insufficient to meet the soaring needs, has further shrunk since May 7, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, reported on Wednesday. Between May 7 and Tuesday, a daily average of 58 aid trucks reached Gaza, down from 176 aid trucks per day between April 1 and May 6, a reduction of 67%. OCHA noted. Before the hostilities between Israel and Hamas began in October, approximately 500 trucks per day crossed into Gaza, based on UN figures. The UN has consistently called for aid deliveries to return to this level. The decline in aid deliveries followed Israel's offensive on Rafah, aimed at dismantling Hamas forces, which were believed to have regrouped in southern Gaza after significant destruction in the north. Since Israel took control of the Gazan side of the Rafah crossing on May 7, aid has been blocked, with supplies accumulating in Egypt and Gaza nearing famine conditions. A senior Israeli security official warned this week that the conflict in Gaza might extend into the next year, diminishing hopes that the Rafah campaign would conclude the offensive. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, described the humanitarian situation in Gaza as disastrous in a ruling last week and ordered Israel to keep the Rafah crossing open for the unhindered provision at scale of aid. Israel and Egypt have blamed each other for the blockage. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz urged Egypt to reopen the crossing, while his Egyptian counterpart, Sana Shoukry, accused Katz of distorting the facts, stating that Israel's offensive near the crossing, which poses a danger to relief workers, is why Egypt cannot bring aid into Gaza. Rafah has been the main route for aid into Gaza and, in November, was used for some injured Palestinians and foreign nationals to enter Egypt. With Rafah now a focal point of hostilities, aid has continued to trickle in through two other crossings, Kerem Shalom in the south and Erez in the north. Kerem Shalom was reopened last week after Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and U.S. President Joe Biden agreed to send aid to the UN via this crossing temporarily. This will help save lives, Biden said, while efforts to reopen the Rafah crossing are ongoing. On Monday, more than 378 trucks arrived at Kerem Shalom from Egypt, according to Israeli officials. However, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, stated that it had only picked up 30 trucks for distribution on the Gazan side of the crossing. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and China's Minister of National Defense Admiral Dong Jun are holding a rare in-person meeting on Friday as the two powers navigate a contentious security landscape across the Asia-Pacific and address various frictions, including China's intimidation of Taiwan and the U.S. strengthening alliances in the region. We have Anthony reporting on this.
This meeting, taking place on the sidelines of an annual defense conference in Singapore, is the first face-to-face talks between the two defense chiefs and Austin's first such discussions with a Chinese counterpart since late 2022. The backdrop for the meeting is fraught with regional tensions. Beijing, which has the world's largest navy, continues to assert disputed territorial claims in the East and South China Seas and criticizes Washington's efforts to enhance security ties with key allies such as Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Earlier this month, China conducted significant war games around Taiwan following the inauguration of the island's new democratically elected president. The Chinese Communist Party claims Taiwan, a self-governing democracy, as its own despite never having controlled it. Additionally, the Chinese Coast Guard has fired water cannons and sought to counter Philippine vessels operating in disputed areas of the South China Sea, heightening tensions with a U.S. treaty ally in the region. China has also criticized what it perceives as provocative actions by the U.S. and its allies. On Thursday, a spokesperson for China's defense ministry condemned the deployment of an American missile system during military drills in the Philippines last month. Austin is expected to raise concerns with Dong about China's support for Russia. U.S. officials have recently stated that dual-use exports from China are bolstering Russia's defense industrial base as it wages war in Ukraine and have warned Beijing against providing Russia with any lethal equipment. Despite the high stakes, the talks between Austin and Dong are not expected to resolve many entrenched issues. At the core of these contentions is China's desire to limit U.S. military influence in Asia, a region where the U.S. has deep historical security ties, seeks to maintain open waterways, and aims to deter North Korean aggression, while China is widely viewed as wanting to establish its dominance. Nevertheless, international observers see the meeting as a positive step towards enhancing dialogue that could help avoid miscommunication or military mishaps that might escalate into conflict. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Chinese leader Xi Jinping has expressed deep concern over the tremendous sufferings in the Middle East and has called for an international peace conference. This statement comes as leaders from various Arab nations visit Beijing amid growing global concerns over Israel's war in Gaza. We have Jensen reporting on this.
Since last October, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict has escalated drastically, throwing the people into tremendous sufferings. War should not continue indefinitely. Justice should not be absent forever, Xi said on Thursday at the opening of a meeting between top diplomats from China and Arab states. The meeting was also attended by several regional leaders. Xi reiterated China's call for the establishment of an independent Palestinian state and expressed Beijing's support for a more broad-based, authoritative, and effective international peace conference. The diplomatic meetings in Beijing occur as Israel's war in Gaza remains a pressing global issue, with Israeli forces intensifying operations in the southern city of Rafah and the humanitarian crisis worsening daily. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his visiting counterparts adopted a joint statement on the Palestinian issue during Thursday's ministerial meeting, according to Chinese state media. The text of this statement was not immediately available. China has been aligning itself with the Arab world and the broader global south regarding the nearly 8-month-long conflict, criticizing Israel and calling for a ceasefire. This stance contrasts with that of the United States, a long-standing key power in the region and a primary supporter of Israel. Chinese officials have used the conflict to criticize Washington, fitting into Beijing's broader narrative that portrays the U.S. as an aggressor unfairly dominating the current world order. Xi highlighted a common desire for a new era of China-Arab relations, and suggested that these relations could serve as a model for maintaining world peace and stability. In this turbulent world, peaceful relations come from mutual respect, and lasting security is built on fairness and justice, Xi said. He has been advocating for an alternative model for global security, distinct from the alliance-based approach supported by the U.S. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, United Arab Emirates President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, and Tunisian President Kais Saied are in China for state visits that coincide with the ministerial meeting. Delegations from 22 Arab states attended the event at Beijing's Diaoyutai State Guest House, according to Chinese state media. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a 2-day meditation retreat inside an island shrine, marking the culmination of weeks of election campaigning. This move is the latest in a series of public displays of religiosity by Modi, following his recent proclamation that he was sent by God. We have Alana reporting on this.
India's ongoing election, widely recognized as the world's largest democratic exercise, has spanned 6 weeks. The final day of voting is scheduled for Saturday, with results expected 3 days later. Modi will visit the Vivekananda Rock Memorial in Kanyakumari, a pilgrimage site located off India's southernmost tip, from May 30 to June 1, as reported by Indian state broadcaster DD News. This site holds significance as it is where the revered Hindu monk and philosopher Swami Vivekananda attained enlightenment. This is not the first time Modi has concluded an election campaign with a meditation retreat. However, his recent public displays of piety have been increasingly grand, aimed at capitalizing on Hindu nationalist sentiment as he seeks a 3rd consecutive term in power. In a recent interview with local news channel NDTV, Modi stated, "I'm convinced that God has sent me for a purpose, and when that purpose is finished, my work will be done." He continued, "God doesn't reveal his cards. He just keeps making me do things." While India is constitutionally committed to secularism, Modi and his Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, have promoted a fervent brand of Hindu nationalism since coming to power in 2014. This has resulted in deepening religious divisions within the country. During his past election campaigns, Modi strategically aligned his religious and political ambitions. For instance, he chose India's spiritual capital Varanasi as his constituency in 2014, blending religious symbolism with political strategy. In the final stages of the 2019 national elections, Modi undertook a meditation retreat in the revered Kedarnath shrine, dedicated to the Hindu deity Lord Shiva, located high in the Himalayas. In January, just before the commencement of campaigning for the current elections, Modi participated in the consecration of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, a contentious Hindu temple built on the site of a demolished mosque. Critics argue that Modi's emphasis on Hinduism has fueled Islamophobia and led to persecution of the country's Muslim population, which constitutes over 200 million people. The BJP and Modi have been criticized for employing overtly Islamophobic language during election speeches, contributing to rising communal tensions in the country. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Donning a playful attire consisting of a toy whale hat, a whale tie, and a shirt adorned with whale motifs, Hideki Tokoro dedicates much of his time to pondering the world's largest mammals. However, his intentions are far from conservation efforts. Instead, he harbors a desire to hunt them. We have Jordan reporting on this.
As the head of Kyoto Senpaku, Tokoro spearheaded the construction and launch of a brand new whaling vessel, the Kangai Maru, with a hefty price tag of $48 million. We take pride in our whale-catching endeavors and are particularly enthusiastic about this new vessel, which will enable us to commence offshore mothership-style whaling this year, Tokoro expressed to reporters while guiding them around the 370-foot, 9,300-ton ship. The Kangai Maru embarked on its inaugural voyage last Saturday, embarking on an 8-month expedition to the northern waters of the country, replacing its predecessor, the Nishin Maru, which gained notoriety as a floating slaughterhouse and was decommissioned in 2020 after over 3 decades of service. The Kangai Maru boasts enhancements in size, speed, and technology, according to the company. Equipped with cutting-edge drones capable of traveling up to 100 kilometers, 62 miles, the vessel facilitates the swift locating and hunting of whales by crews aboard smaller boats. Despite the company's assertions, activists voiced concerns about the vessel's advanced capabilities, such as a cruising range of over 13,000 kilometers, more than 8,000 miles, and the ability to sail for up to 60 days. These features raise suspicions that Japan may be expanding its whaling operations far beyond its northern waters. Japan has never relinquished its ambitions for whaling, remarked veteran anti-whaling activist Paul Watson to CNN. The sole purpose of a vessel like that is to travel long distances to the Southern Ocean to hunt whales. What the whalers are currently doing is essentially a trial run. They are testing out the new ship in their own waters. Back to you, John.
Thanks for that update.
Boeing executives presented extensive changes to the company's production process and safety protocols during a 3-hour meeting with the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, on Thursday. The purpose of the plan is to instill confidence among the public, airline customers, and regulators that Boeing aircraft are safe for flight. We have Ava reporting on this.
FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker described the plan as a blueprint for a new approach to Boeing's operations, anticipating significant systemic changes within the company. Moving forward, Boeing and FAA officials will hold weekly meetings to track progress in implementing the plan, with the FAA conducting monthly reviews. The plan encompasses various measures aimed at enhancing employee training, providing clearer instructions for assembly line workers, preventing suppliers from delivering defective components to Boeing, and subjecting the company to additional FAA audits. The FAA mandated Boeing's outgoing CEO, Dave Calhoun, and his team to develop this roadmap following 2 comprehensive reviews in February that uncovered serious issues within the company. The meeting, which included Calhoun and other Boeing leaders, featured an exhaustive PowerPoint presentation that outlined the plan's components. Whitaker emphasized the importance of Boeing establishing robust safety and quality management plans, indicating that the FAA will not authorize an increase in the number of aircraft produced on Boeing's MAX assembly line until it is satisfied with production quality. He clarified that Boeing has not yet sought FAA approval to lift these limits, and there have been no preliminary discussions on the matter. Boeing's CFO indicated during an industry conference last week that the company is far from ready to ramp up production. The FAA has also revised its monitoring approach on the Boeing assembly line, transitioning from paperwork audits to having inspectors present on the assembly line itself. Whitaker underscored the commitment to ongoing engagement between the FAA and Boeing, including daily presence of FAA inspectors on Boeing's factory floor, weekly senior meetings, and quarterly meetings between the CEO and FAA administrator. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update. Swedish climate-focused financial technology startup Doconomy announced on Thursday that it has secured €34 million, $36.9 million, from prominent European banks, including UBS and Commerce Ventures. We have Lee reporting on this.
In a Series B financing round, Doconomy raised funds co-led by UBS Next and Commerce Ventures, the venture arms of UBS and Commerzbank, respectively. Credit ratings agency S&P Global also joined as a new investor, while existing shareholders Motive Ventures, Postfinance, and Tenity participated. Established in Sweden in 2018, Doconomy collaborates with partners such as Boston Consulting Group, MasterCard, S&P Global, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to assess the carbon footprint associated with financial transactions. One of the company's key offerings is the IAND Index, a cloud-based service for banks enabling their customers to convert each transaction into its corresponding CO2 footprint. This index is utilized by over 100 financial institutions across more than 40 countries. Doconomy intends to utilize the new funding to expand into North America and introduce new products, according to CEO and co-founder Matthias Wikström. He emphasized the company's goal to involve every bank worldwide in their clients' engagement with environmental, social, and governance (ESG) initiatives. Wikström highlighted the connection between environmental and social aspects, emphasizing the importance of addressing both. Wikström expressed satisfaction with the emerging partnerships with UBS and Commerzbank, characterizing it as a collaboration that combines financial resources and expertise to address environmental challenges effectively. Back to you, Bella.
Thanks for that update.
Thanks for tuning in to World in 15 for your daily dose of news and updates. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on breaking stories and insightful analysis.